Hello there, Kiro fans. Welcome to episode. I don't even know which episode this is, to be honest. I think this is episode 5. I don't know. Maybe people in the chat who've been here for every episode can tell me. I think this is episode 5 of the Kiro bi-weekly show. So welcome. It's me here today by myself. Not exactly. I do have a guest. So my name is Darko. I am what they call these days a developer advocate. I am part of the Kiro team. I work closely with the Kiro team. I work closely with the folks who build Kiro. But more importantly, I work with the folks who use Kiro. And that's going to be one of the things today. Today, I have Vivek joining me on the live stream, and he's going to be talking to me and to you about how he has been using Kiro to do some wonderful stuff. So we're going to get an engineer's take on Kiro and using Kiro and spec-driven development and a whole lot of things. So any questions you may have, any concerns, any comments you may have, the chat is right there, or I don't know where you're watching this, but chat is somewhere. So thank you, folks. Welcome to the show. So I see Stakado says, hi. Victor is saying, how can I test it, sign up for the wish list, but then I get an invite? Give folks some time. I'm sure. Make sure to sign up to the wish list. That was the whole thing, and hopefully you get access to it soon. We just want to make sure that everybody has equal good experience on Kiro before the floodgates are open. When can we start to see pricing plans? So there's been a massive changes when it comes to the pricing. So I do encourage you all folks to go to the Kiro Discord, and I'm going to be dropping a link to the Kiro Discord in the chat as well, so you can join. And there's been a whole discussion about pricing. The folks from Kiro are very transparent when it comes to those things, and it's actually influenced a lot by you, the Kiro users. So excellent. So a lot of folks are joining in from YouTube, from Twitter, from Twitch. So hello. We're streaming this on multiple different places. So always happy to see the folks here. So as we do this, let me find the Kiro Discord so I can get you, so I can ask you folks to join. We have, I think, close to 13,000 members, which is insane and great. So if you want to join, go ahead. It's Kiro discord.gg/Kiro.dev. I know I couldn't post this on LinkedIn, but it's there. It's this. This is the discord.gg/Kiro.dev. So you can join that. Okay, excellent. Before I kick it off, I just want to also kind of talk about Kiro for a little bit here, because if you don't know what Kiro is, if this is your first time seeing a Kiro live stream, hello. Kiro is your favorite coding assistant. It's an IDE that helps you build software. Is it like the other ones? No, it has a lot of great features that kind of make it special. Number one, the whole spec-driven development is a thing. If you have not tried spec-driven development, you are missing out. So definitely go ahead and check out Kiro. So you can go to Kiro.dev. Actually, you can go to Kiro.dev. And if you scroll all the way down on this page, if you scroll all the way down on Kiro.dev, you will see a little ghosty following your mouse movements, which is I guess a cool thing. So shout out to the team who built that. Okay, so Derek Gustav, hey, welcome to the show. All right, without further ado, I am gonna go ahead and bring in Vivek here, and Vivek is gonna talk to me and talk to you about how he migrated Postgres from C to Rust, with a huge asterisk here, but he used Kiro. So we're gonna look at some of the examples of how migration works with Kiro, and how do you do some actual software migrations from one thing to another. Maybe it's not the best idea to migrate something from C to Rust directly, but we're gonna see what Vivek did. And I'm gonna try to play a little. Do I have a little transition? I guess I can do a little thing like this. So 3, 2, 1. Okay. Hello, Vivek. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Darko. Thank you so much for having me on the show. My
Excellent.
name is Vivek Welso. Hi, everyone. Thanks.
So, Vivek, tell the audience, who are you? What do you do? Where do you join us from? And what is objectively the best programming language in the world?
Obviously, it's Rust.
Of course it is.
No doubt about that. So yeah, I'm Vivek Well. So I'm based out of Toronto, Canada. I'm an AI engineer, also AWS community builder. I love to write blogs on new AWS services, tools, and technologies, and how AWS services can be applied to day-to-day, solving day-to-day problems and use cases. So
So, so tell me, what is an AI engineer? Like I've heard that term being kind of like used with a lot of new roles. So what does it mean being an AI engineer?
So by being an AI engineer, you work with data engineers and build AI models and implement them to production. So you take the models and put them into production. So the whole life cycle of implementing the AI RAG and uh, everything comes into the AI engineering role.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those relatively new roles that are critical, especially in systems that rely a lot on like using AI internally, such as setting up RAG and what you say. Excellent. Um, see, Green Mamba saying here, love that you can go from C to Rust and laugh about it. 5 years ago, it wouldn't be anything to laugh about. Mr. Green Mamba, it's not easy. You can't even laugh about it today. There's a lot of caveats to this thing, but it is definitely easier to do certain transitions from C to Rust, which in this case I think Vivek is going to be showing us. So Vivek, tell
Yeah.
us what you've done.
So basically, I started using Kiro. I was an early adopter, so I got access to try out Kiro, and I had plenty of credits. I also used the hackathon account, so there was no issue of credits. But I did all this using the free tier of Kiro. I did have a pro account, and
Mm-hmm.
we got it refunded in August. So August and September were like totally free usage for Kiro. So that helped me build this prototype just to test out how Kiro can migrate large code bases. So I just asked Kiro that what's the best open source repository on GitHub
Okay.
that I can test, right? So it came up with certain list, and the most interesting one was the Postgres repo because it has like a huge history of 30 years and a lot of commits, and it's like 1.5 million lines of code written in pure Rust. It's monolithic, and so I had to use the MCP servers, right, to analyze that huge repo. So I used the Anthropic sequential thinking MCP server. So it's a very powerful MCP server. So it breaks down the thinking process into sequential thoughts and dynamic reasoning, and lets you refine like the specs, right? So into proper sequence. So that really helped to refine the initial spec that I created for the initial migration. Then other than that, I used the AWS Labs GitHub Research MCP server. That's another very powerful MCP server. Lets you connect to any GitHub repo and do the analysis of the code base. So you do have to add your GitHub token. So you have to be careful when you commit your like MCP JSON, right? So you have to keep it somewhere else. So you do it in that user workspace, not in the project workspace. So that's the one thing that it needs with the GitHub research MCP server. So using those two primary MCP servers, I just gave a prompt and started refining the specs. So with the spec-driven approach, it's very important to get your specs right. And the more you tend to work on your spec and refine them, the more quality product you get. So that was my key undertaking to make the specs robust, and I didn't expect it to give a full working engine at once. So I did have to like create subsequent specs, right, to fix the things that were not fully implemented, and
So
I can share my screen.
Yeah. So I will share screen. But tell me, you mentioned you gave it a prompt. What is the prompt you used in this case? Because it seems like such a daunting task. What is the prompt you gave it to migrate Postgres from C to Rust?
Yeah, let me see if I have that. I think I may not have the original prompt because
Okay.
yeah, I moved the project to a different folder. So when you move that, you lose the session history. That's the other thing
Mm-hmm.
I observed. But from then on, I learned from that you use the steering docs to ask Kiro to keep a log of this session logs. So I from that learning, I updated my steering doc, and from then I always keep the logs of what Kiro is doing in a docs directory. So I'm going to share that at the end.
Okay.
All my tips that I tricks that I learned during this migration. So from then on, I started keeping that in this docs directory. So I have all those
Yeah.
prompts, everything stored. So the prompt was just a simple, right, to using those sequential thinking and GitHub research. I pointed it to those specific MCP servers to do the analysis of the Postgres open source repo, which is in C, and help me with the optimized Rust migrated code so that it follows all the Rust best practices. And to do that, I also worked on creating the steering docs for Rust. So I asked Kiro to generate a steering doc of best practices for Rust development. And yeah, it came up with this very useful tips to use cargo commands and not the Rust C low-level compiler commands to compile, because that causes issues with Kiro. So with related to the context, so it did use that in the steering, and also I asked Kiro to add some additional instructions like do not duplicate any existing functions when we are working on individual crates and different modules. So Claude tries to create duplicate code multiple times. So if the same function is existing in server crate or in the query crate, it might duplicate that. So I instructed it to avoid that. And basically, it followed all other Rust-based practices. Then
So so
also,
so so did you like that's a legit question. Do you um was Kira running Rust C commands for compilation instead of cargo? That seems so odd.
yeah, it did run, because I think it might be built into the Claude's
Oh
LLM.
wow. Okay.
So it did run the Rust C and not cargo. So that was something what I
That
observed.
is incredible. So I have a couple of questions here from the chat for you. So Green Mamba is asking, this seems like it can get costly if your specs aren't tight. How did you refine this architecture?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to share the secret sauce, how I did
Okay.
it with the free tier, right? So I saw that what with my terminal
Mhm.
shell integration, as you call, with
Yeah.
Kiro, when the agent is executing those tests,
Yeah.
Kiro follows the test-driven development approach, and it executes the test and failing tests, and then fixes the code to uh, make the functionality, and then reruns the test.
Yeah.
So I had seen that my shell integration wasn't working very well with Bash. So there are,
Okay.
like, I saw some ideas on Discord channel that use other shells. So but I was using Bash initially, and then I added this redirection to the um, uh, to the shell command so that it outputs the terminal logs to a file, and then it reads it. So that way, initially what used to happen is Kiro didn't used to get its own terminal logs, and then it thinks the tests are complete and it marks the task as success. So that way it used to run a certain task and couldn't get the actual response, and used to just mark its success. So this prevents that from happening due to the shell integration issues. But that led me to another idea, that why not I use Q developer to fix those failing tests. So I have a bunch of Q developer works within Kiro, right? So it used to be a not supported extension. So right now I do see it is supported. So it used to show here it's not supported, but I don't see that anymore. So for those failing tests, instead of Kiro trying to loop in and try to fix it, and saved on my Kiro credits by using the Q developer extension, and just fix those tests and then plug that output to Kiro. So the Y pool takes less credits than the spec pool, right? So that way I used to manage between the Y and spec pools, but now it's going to be anyways going to be a unified pool, which is great. And that was one secret sauce that I used with the Q developer to fix those failing tests because of the terminal integration issues on my side. And I was able to do the basic like running Postgres server. So I can just ask Kiro that is the Postgres server running. I just restarted it, and it goes through the code base, and it will why is it using maybe it's trying to think it's the local it's not my local
it's probably trying to run check if you have Postgres installed.
Yeah.
Interesting. I want to say hi to chat. I see Gerald's in the chat. Hi from Canada. Where's the Rust code? There's still going to be some Rust code here in a second. I think we're going to be looking at some Rust as well. Mop says, hello, devs. Hello, Mop. And Green Mamba, I see your question. We're going to get to that in a second. Just waiting for Vivek here to see if Postgres is running or not. Okay. Yeah. So okay. So you're looking for the actual binary.
Yeah.
So okay. So it's looking for the stuff there. Okay. Nice. I don't think it runs, because what it does here, it tries to run the command, but it exits, right? The command stops, I assume, right?
Yeah, so it is still running here in the other
one. Okay.
Window. So yeah, it did say that if you want to start, you can run this. But,
sure.
Let me kill it, and then.
Okay. As you're doing that, I'm going to talk to Green Mamba here. So yeah, it's great to have Vivek here to kind of share information with us as an engineer. You have Q Developer during Hackathon. I mean, you can use Q Developer. There's the Q Developer CLI. There's a Q Developer here as well. So like, there's a lot of tools you can mix and match to make your job so much better. And like, thanks to all these tools, like building certain things, at least like kind of experimenting with and iterating on stuff is just so great. So big fan of it. We also see a sneak peek here from Vivek's blog post, which we're going to be sharing later on as well. Let's see.
So yeah, I just put those commands
Hmm.
to psql commands to test. So I had created this table, so it's still there after
Okay.
restarting the server, so it didn't lose on the existing data after
Hmm.
restart. So it had the durability of the storage layer intact.
Yep.
And yeah, so what I'm also going to show is how these specs can be declarative, right? So I'm a
Okay.
big fan of infrastructure as code. So I always have the all my code packaged in either CloudFormation or
Hmm.
CDK. So if I have to rebuild anything, I have that ready to go. So in a declarative format. So
Okay.
with Kiro, the specs is kind of a declarative way of coding. So you can compile, right, the specs and generate the code again. So
Okay.
uh, that way, like I had created a update uh, spec, right? So um, uh, now I want to test the updates on my Postgres. So I asked Kiro to fix the updates which it didn't fully implement in the first migration. So I asked Kiro to do the update engine and integrate it with Postgres. So it came up with a new spec for that. And I had ran it previously, but what I'm going to show is that using this declarative spec, you can rebuild your code if it's broken
Yes.
and restore it. So it's a very good capability of the spec-driven tools
Do
like
you do you store, like, do you keep like a history of your specs as well?
yeah, so I do commit the specs
Yep.
to Git, so I can track it. And if I have to implement a new feature, I tend to create a new spec for that rather than updating existing one. Like this update that you see, I created a new spec. Then there was an issue with filtering the where clause, so I
Hmm.
created a new spec for that. Then in the initial implementation, the insert storage was not persisting, so I created a new spec. And then even the durability testing, which like we saw that after the server was restarted, it wasn't showing me the table. So I added those features with a new spec. So I didn't like revise the huge massive spec. I implemented these new features through different specs. That's my approach. Uh,
Hmm.
and I also use this nice tool, which is a Rust package called Toke, to count the lines of code.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
use that with the agent hooks. So after every task, it will log that lines of codes that were refactored in Rust that into my README. So the README gets updated. So I didn't use a lot of other hooks because I was committing to Git manually. Usually, I have those set up as well to auto commit to Git, but I was saving on my credits, so to keep this at minimum to just have the lines of code for this project.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna rerun the database update spec and see that it still works with the declarative way of
Hmm.
generating code. And it picked up all the best practices from
Yeah.
Claude. So
And
yeah,
do you have these like steering docs? Like, there was also a question here from Green Mamba. Like, did you create the steering docs as a guide for your before steering your additional prompts? Or did you like bring these steering prompts in from somewhere else?
no, these were all generated by Kiro. I
Mhm.
reviewed them, and I uh, improved upon them. But I used Kiro to create a base version of the steering docs, and that way, based on like my experience working with Claude, Claude does certain things like creates multiple files and clutters sometimes the code base. So I don't prefer to have anything in the root directory. If you see here, it had cluttered all these root directory with the tests. So I put that in the steering dock to do all those tests separately inside the individual crate and the test folder. That way I don't have the cluttered code base. And I just improved on the base steering that was generated
Yeah.
by Kiro. I'm going to share this repo as well, so
Okay, good.
all my specs are available for reference.
Excellent. So a couple comments here. I just want to look at the chat for a sec here. But first of all, thank you, chat, for being here. So Kev Chats here is saying that Kiro is impressive. I do agree. I think that's the spec-driven development is a whole different ballgame. They're always commenting. I think changing specs often after things are built is one key question many people have about using Kiro. Does it work well with refactoring that? Have you done that? Have you changed specs after things have been being built? Did that work well for
So
you?
that is a very good question from Daryl. So yes, I suggest that when you have a working product, you refresh your steering docs to reflect on what it has implemented. So your steering docs are also fresh, and they take into account if the LLM has gone into a certain direction. You add that knowledge to the steering docs. So it's always a good idea to have them refreshed at a certain point, like after completing a big milestone in the task. So this next task can take advantage of those. So, yeah, I did update them a couple of times.
Okay. Excellent.
And then you have to make sure that it doesn't overwrite what is critical, right? So you do mark your critical ones in bold for Claude, so it gives them a priority, right? So
yeah. Nice. Okay, excellent. Let's continue. So what is happening right now?
So right now it's doing these tasks. Task one is still in progress. I think it should complete because the tests are passing. So whenever you rerun Claude on a test, it will obviously find some other missed test and try to add the missed features. So which is good in a certain way that you have working all the working tests.
Yeah. Okay. So it is running these tests, like running cargo tests. Like, do you instruct Kiro to generate unit tests while it's doing this, or do you tell it no?
Yeah, so it does generate the unit test based on its reviewing the existing implementation. So you see, it generated one new test this time, which was not there, and now it passed. It was failing in the previous attempt, so now it passed. So it did generate it on its own. I didn't instruct it to create any new test, but it takes those turns sometimes and creates any missing tests that it finds were not there originally, so that way it also improves on the existing code base. Now you see that it should also log those that the session task, right? So that was part of my steering, and it updated the task summary in the docs section. So it creates all that organized session logs history of the task.
such a big fan of that session history, because like one of the things that I need to have doing my building is like just a history of what has happened. So I think that's a critical element in this. I love that you're doing that. I just want to, well, this is happening. So there's a discussion here in the chat between KevChats and Natalo Code saying, KevChats, I'm not sure if Kiro team would agree, but it seems highly. But it seems to me that a highly effective, precise technical product manager could potentially outperform software engineers that don't use AI to a certain extent. It's not a competition, yada yada yada. So KevChats, I don't disagree with you. I think yes, Kiro and tools like this offer a lot of power to technical product managers to do stuff. But to the point that Natalo Code made is that development experience is critical in certain things, because coding assistants make mistakes not on their own fault, but like just because the way they're built. So like a clear example, a lot of the, at least up a couple of months ago, a lot of the LLMs would make in Rust. If you ask a coding assistant to build you a tool that uses environment variables, right, from like a .env file, LLM would always choose a crate called .env. Unfortunately, that crate has been deprecated, and an LLM doesn't know that. So the new crate everybody should use called .env. So if you are not like a developer and you're not like kind of with your finger on the pulse of things, you may miss that, and that could be a potential problem. So a little bit of development experience and like kind of being in that world goes a long way. I'm not saying that you cannot do that. You can, but it's kind of a thing. So different versions of the same library, exactly. Library versioning is the whole nother ball game, which, oh boy, I built something with SQLX and Rust the other day with Kiro, and like it screwed up it just used the old version of SQLX. That was the problem. So okay, so we see it going through the thing now. Vivek, I didn't notice when we kicked off this specific update. Well, the specific spec. What is this spec is doing specifically? You are adding the update statement, right?
Yeah, I'm adding the update functionality. So it had only the insert, and the update had some problems. So I'm trying to implement it with the new spec.
Yeah. Okay, so there's no product manager who will be as good at. I mean, hey, listen, I'm not being nice. Product managers, specifically technical product managers, people who have technical backgrounds, can be really good. I know we're all software engineers and we're great and all that stuff. I fully understand. But I do think that a lot of people here that have the technical chops and listen, just want to build code can do stuff really well. So it's a yes and a no answer in my case. So, but I fully understand the comments here from all of you. Mop says here, I wanted to ask, I can't scroll to the Kiro tabs on the Kiro agent window. I have to resize it. I don't know if is that a bug? Is that a thing that doesn't work? I don't have enough tabs. Vivek, can you scroll on the tabs in the Kiro chat window? Can you scroll the tabs, or like do you have to resize them? Oh, you could just click on that. Yeah, you have to click on the history.
Yeah, so you have to click on history, and you can restore that session or the tasks.
Okay. Yeah. So, but that's a good piece of feedback, Mop. I'm gonna make sure that service team sees that. So, okay. So things are happening.
Yeah. So like a project manager, it instructed me, right, to add this missing component, which was initially missed out, right? So when it started working on task 1 to 7, so there was a integration piece that was missing. So it didn't build out the client tools and the networking layer. So when I refined the spec, it created this integration layer task, and it placed that in between, right? So it knew the sequencing when to execute this integration layer to have a minimum viable product. So it helped in like a PM organizing the flow and the sequencing of the task.
Okay, excellent. And it's fascinating. Like, so when you initially built this, when you initially started the migration, did you tell it just like the migrate the whole thing, or just told it make insert and I don't know, get or select commands? Like, how did you do it?
Yeah, no, I had instructed in my initial prompt to build the whole thing. That's
The whole thing.
why it has those integration tests for all the
Hmm.
modules, but they are not fully implemented. You see,
Hmm.
they have the extensions, right? So I actually
Hmm.
wanted to create the vector PG vector
Yeah.
extension so I can test the RAG with this. So that was my idea to have something like a extension module. So it did go through all the history and build the transaction. Right now, this transaction is not implemented, but it has the code. Placeholder code, I think, for it. So you see that it's just a placeholder code. So I'll have to write a new spec to build that functionality. But it has created and broken down the huge monolith C code into this manageable threads, right? So that was the approach it took with the sequential thinking.
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay, that's really good. That's really good. I just want to state out something out there to the folks in chat and the developers watching this. Um, don't migrate something like this just in a single go. First of all, it's a daunting task. Now, should you go ahead and just migrate somebody else's work like PostgreSQL into from C to Rust as a thought exercise? Sure, but will it be as good and performant as the real thing? Probably not. It takes a lot of effort and finesse to do something like that really good. I've actually watched a presentation last week, 2 weeks ago at RustConf from Luca, who migrated a tri-hash in Redis from C to Rust. And now it wasn't a simple rewrite, because a simple rewrite should work, but it was like twice as slow. So it was a huge discussion and huge like how many unsafe blocks of code should we have versus not. So it is by no means a simple task telling it migrate this whole open source project from C to Rust, especially something as huge as Postgres. But it is a great example of how you can strategically use steering docs, specs to do something as big as this. So just want to put it out there. Okay, so I see it's chugging along. It's working its stuff.
Yeah, it's rerunning the failed tests, and
Mhm.
they're working. So I don't have to implement everything. Usually, when the specs are built, it has all the error handling and exception handling. So for the MVP, I don't run those error handling tasks. Just skip those which are not like mandatory. So you have to use your own discretion to or just ask Kiro which tasks are the bare minimum to have a working version in this case. So it will tell you to skip this error handling and other complex performance optimization is another example.
So when it goes and like just does these tests, right? I can assume that the tests outputs are just like huge and all those things. Is there some sort of a strategy you use to kind of reduce the amount of tokens you are eating up with those like results of tests?
Yeah, so that's a very good point, Darko. So I did see this issue with when working on AWS repositories that when it does the CLI commands, it tends to put all those paginated outputs into the context, and that sometimes ask for the user input, and it breaks the flow. So you have to instruct the steering dock to try to have the minimum not a full verbose versions, minimum version of the test output in its steering. So that way it doesn't run out of tokens quickly, right, with the verbose version. So I've
Yeah.
put that in the tips in my
Yeah.
blog that I will publish.
One of the ways that I found to kind of control these certain things, well, to control basically what commands Kiro wants to run, is using something like make, right, or just, or there's another version of make and just. I forgot what the name is. Somebody in chat will tell me, but I'm using one of those like command runners, and I predefine commands. Like my test command is this specific command, and instead of having Kiro remember that every time it needs to use this specific cargo test and whatever kind of flags, it's going to just use just test, and it's will always run the command that I told it to. So it's a really neat way to, number one, reduce the potential for Kiro making a mistake by running a command you don't want it to run, but also you have the utmost control of the things it will do. So
yeah. And to add to that, I saw that when I used to deploy using Amplify, there are tons of ways you can deploy to Amplify using S3 or GitHub, push through GitHub. But every time I saw Kiro using a different approach when working on the front-end project. So I asked Kiro to create a script and always use that script to follow the proven build deploy approach, right? So it doesn't follow like take a turns and use different approach to deploy. So that way it always uses the specific script you want.
Yeah. That's very, very fair. Awesome. So what do we see happening right now? So it's still kind of chugging through the test, and it's like now moving to the second test. Now, is it automatically moving to the next task? You don't have to tell it anything, or do you just?
No, I don't use that feature. So I saw in the Discord that if you just type go,
Go.
it does everything.
Yeah.
I haven't tried that, but
Okay.
someone posted that in the Discord. But I don't do that. The reason is I tried it once, and what I was trying to do, like my 10-year-old son asked me to create a Roblox game. So I am not familiar with the Lua, which is the programming language that Roblox Studio uses, right? So I use a Rust package. That Rust package can build the Lua script. So I created all the specs and everything, and I told it to create an addictive game. So I was trying to see what it can do with its imagination. So I did a typo. I wrote additive instead of addictive. So I did notice that. And at the end, when I saw it was a maths game, like addition, like a maths game. So if you don't pay attention to the specs and run it all once, you end up with a totally different product. So that's why I run like every task at
individual. For me personally, I also do the same thing as you, like just run them individually. The sole reason is because I have this horrible fear of losing control, right? If I tell Kiro to do this and it just kind of goes and does it, I have no idea what happened. I don't know what code it added. So a lot of the times, and this is probably way slower than anything you folks are doing, but anytime it finishes a task, I go and look at the changed code. I want to make sure that I understand the code. If somebody down the line and asks me, so how does your application do inserts? I'm like, I want to be able to at least understand in broad strokes what Kiro has done and potentially identify issues, because especially in Rust, I've seen coding assistants just love to use the unwrap method, and no, we're not doing unwrap. So just making sure that all of those things are clean and great. Okay, so it has finished the thing. It reads through the requirements again. It's still in the progress. Now, is there any point you kind of stop or you just kind of wait for it to go through the entire task list, or like do you do something in like between the tasks, or you just kind of just want to finish it?
Like I sometimes test it what it is doing. Like if I want to test how it is building the stuff, I can sometimes test it out instead of like waiting for all the individual tasks. Right now it has done the update framework, so it should work. The update should work uh, without the row scanning. So maybe after this where condition, I can test it out.
Okay, good. And like, is your testing strategy here like just relying on unit tests, or do you like do some actual real world, like just trying to insert stuff, or yeah?
Yeah, I try to do the real world insert because in my initial spec, I built the pSQL client. So I use that client to actually test it, and not the actual unit test, because the unit tests have run with Kiro. So I want to do a real test with the Postgres client, which is built.
Okay, nice. And oh yeah, it's also, yeah, you're also building a Postgres client, not just a server, right?
Yes. So in the initial spec, it had missed out building the server client and integration with the wire protocol. So it added that additional task and built out the server and client binaries. So those are also, I didn't touch them after the MVP, because when building the client, I ran across the SSL issues. So I disabled the SSL for now. It's not using the SSL.
So Green Mom is asking, interesting you mentioned the migration process, Arco. I noticed that you haven't addressed the backend yet. Is that on purpose or because this type of app you're building? So are you talking about what Vivek is doing or what I am doing? In this case, Vivek is actually migrating everything from Postgres, including the backend, that means the server, and the Postgres client. So everything is happening here at once, apparently. So when you ask it to do like the whole insert thing, I assume the tasks require it to change the server element of it and the client, right?
Yes, it does take a look at all the individual components, and then makes an update which is required in the other dependencies as well. So like all the core components, it organized in the core layer. So that way it with the steering, of course, it helped to focus on not duplicating the code and keep all the dependencies separated out, and keep all the main functions in the core.
Okay, that's amazing. Somebody's asking here. I see a lot of Swift developers on YouTube. Hey, folks. So somebody, Imperial Tech, says, I'm a newbie building an app for the iPhone using Swift. Never built myself using Swift. So good luck, my friend. And Marco.io says, have any of your peers tried building out a Swift Vapor backend using Kiro? I don't know. But if you, Imperial Tech maybe knows, folks who built with Swift. Have you ever used Swift, Vivek, as a language?
Yeah, I have used Swift, but not with Kiro.
Yeah,
I'll try that next time.
Yeah, I mean, I assume Swift is pretty much well supported because it's a very common language people use. I mean, I think most iPhone apps are built in Swift, so sure. Yeah. Okay, so what are we? Have we stopped? I know it's okay. Okay, update RS. Okay, see, it's a bunch of stuff. So this is kind of a thing about Kiro. You just kind of sit there and wait for it to do its thing, I guess.
Yeah, and this time I didn't use QDeveloper plugin for the failing tests. So that's another thing that like if the tests are still failing multiple times, then there's, I think, some limit. Kiro tries to rerun them, and after a certain point, it gives up. So then I use QDeveloper.
Okay, so how do you use QDeveloper here? I didn't fully understand that. So what is happening here? Like, you tell QDeveloper to look at these like failing files?
Yes, so this is the Q developer chat, right? With
Okay.
the extension.
Sure.
And you can just ask Q developer using the at workspace
Okay.
and check what tests are failing in
Okay.
update functionality. So it will just check all the tests which are named
Okay.
like update and try to run them and show me in parallel. So you can use like multiple agents at the same time. That's you can use it as a reviewer agent and review the work that the main Kiro is doing. So that way you
Okay.
have a peer reviewer in this development cycle. So it does help to have a second pair of eyes, right?
Yeah.
To see the code that one agent is doing.
Okay. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. And then, but Q developer doesn't make any changes for it, right? No.
Yeah, so you have to tell it don't make any change.
Yeah.
So now I just told it to check what the failing tests are. So it gives this summary of the
Mhm.
failing tests.
That's a good thing because you can basically tell it to go ahead and check the summary, the failing test summary, and create like a little file that will instruct Hero to fix them or something like that. Like give like a little thing.
Yes.
Although I do see this as a potentially good use for agent hooks, right? Finding a way to detect that the failure has happened by, I don't know, having Kiro T into a file, right? And then if certain file is created, you can trigger off an agent hook that looks at that stuff. So
Yeah. You can use agent hooks as well.
there are ways to do this. Okay, interesting.
But this is like in parallel, right? So
Yeah, in
agent
parallel,
hook is synchronous. So
yeah.
this is something I do in parallel without impacting the current.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, a lot of tests. So this is actually pretty good. I mean, like you spend a lot of time just looking at failing tests, which is okay, as long as those tests are fixed. But like, so now what's happening here? So your Kiro is failing the tests and it's trying to fix them, and Q developer is looking at the failures and then creating what?
So it's creating a report that I can send it back to Kiro.
Okay.
It's like a second pair
Mhm.
of code reviewer for Kiro.
Okay. When do you use that? When do you use that report?
So like I can stop this verification and just paste this report, and then it will take that and work on that instead of its current looping. If sometimes it gets it is stuck into a loop, then I try to interrupt it and send it the new set of instructions. So that
Understood.
way.
Understood. Okay. Grimamba says that Darko, what I was exactly what I was referring. Okay. To the hackathon earlier. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Well, so you couldn't actually run Q developer in Kiro until recently. So, and that had to do with the version of the open source code editor in the back. So it wasn't just like disabled. It just the open source version of VS Code, right, that you see here, it wasn't up to spec to use Q developer. So
I saw the release notes. They just bumped up the open source version.
Yeah. So the Kiro team doesn't really control like directly which plugins work and which do not. They just use the open source version of code, and depending on which version it's underneath Kiro, that's kind of limiting factor on which plugins you can use. And initially, when Kiro launched, like there was a plethora of plugins you couldn't use because it uses some relatively older version of code open source. So yeah, it's a thing. Now, so Vivek, as we're approaching the end of the live stream, so you mentioned you're going to share some of the best practices and tips with the audience. What can we see here?
Yeah, so I haven't released this blog yet, but whatever we discussed, I documented in this blog, like how I migrated this huge code base, started with the MCP tool selection, and give a brief idea on what those tools are and what steering guides I use, particularly for the shell integration issues that we talk about, and how to organize the session logs and summary within the individual crates, and have the documents created there instead of the root folder. And the third important thing was to prevent creating duplicate code functions. So always check before any functionality is existing. So those were the key steering rules that I used. And then we talk about this Toki REST package that outputs the lines of code. I use that with the agent hook, and some other generic tips I have put about like restarting Kiro from different location. You have to be mindful of that. Maybe the Kiro team will fix that in the future releases, but there's a workaround now for that. And yeah, you can. I also observed it was running like creating multiple targets binaries in different folders. So I use that in the steering section to have the targets created in the specific folder, not in the multiple locations. And this is about the verbose output. And for using the AWS projects, use the NoCLI pager, and using the scripts. So, for example, the Amplify front end use standardized scripts to use a specific approach for deployment rather than having Kiro use its own. And yeah, now let's just test the update, creating this table.
Excellent. I think consistency in your LLM coding assistance is one of the key things that makes it so much more well better at what it's doing. So good things to have these things.
Okay, so it inserted 2 records. I created a Kiro table. Let's see. Yep.
Boom. Okay. Postgres seems to be working.
Postgres seems to be working, and now the update. So this is the update, and let's see if it updated Alice. I don't know why it always creates records with Alice and Bob.
Sure.
So yeah, it did update Alice. Yeah.
Okay.
Let me kill the server and restart it and see if our table is still there. I think it was this one. Yep.
Okay, look at that.
With the updated record. So,
wow, look at that. Look at that. Wonderful. Wonderful. By the way, chat, since Vivek hasn't posted his post yet on Dev2, I did put the link in the chat to dev2/Vivek AWS. So you can go and check this thing out. And basically, hopefully you release your post soon, because I actually looked it up this morning and it wasn't there yet. So we're waiting for you eagerly to release the post.
Sure, I was just doing some final edits.
Okay. Okay. Well, excellent. So as parting words, is there any piece of advice, a single piece of advice you can give to chat right now about building applications or migrating applications with Kiro?
Yeah, so whatever idea you have, you try to do as Kiro in the wipe mode and see how you can use the specs and refine your spec and then build your product. And yeah, it's worth giving a try. The spec-driven tools are like all nowadays. Kiro is the main driver with launching the spec-driven, and other agentic tools are also now following the suit of Kiro. with the Spec-driven. So that's really awesome. It's baked into the product.
Excellent. Excellent. Perfect. So start with some vibe coding and then graduate up into specs so you can make your stuff way better. Amazing. Vivek, thank you so much. Chat, thank you all so much. Join us here again in 2 weeks as we do more of Kiro stuff here on the live stream. So thank you so much, folks. I'm going to be ending this live stream right now. So
Thank you.
Bye.